Are you looking for better shooting experience? How about a facility where you can shoot all of your firearms in the same day, where you can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, and practice your rifle work out to 600 yards? Shoot a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. You can do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, president of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. If you love the outdoors, you'll want to know all about Northern Illinois' largest outdoor shooting facility, the Aurora Sportsman's Club. If you're a novice looking for a basic course, an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, or perhaps you want to participate in your favorite shooting event, or just spend an enjoyable day with a family, the Aurora Sportsman's Club is the only shooting facility in the region that offers all that and more. Interested? Then you won't want to miss the next orientation and tour of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Call, email, or visit our website today to find out how you can become part of a better shooting experience at the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman, Illinois.
He is the human Molotov cocktail that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them.
So we're going to create a new government that serves you, your family, and your country. It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues, here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David's rant of the week is, leftists are dying for a concealed carry holder to make a mistake, with David and Gretchen talking about California's latest gun control measures, controlling ammunition. Then, find out what happened when the government decided to catch those conducting illegal gun sales over the internet. And we'll be talking about the top Second Amendment court ruling in 2017. And finally, you will not believe how the saga of the Christian bakers in Oregon who refused to make a gay wedding cake turned out. All that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So give us a call at 815-205-1584. That's 815-205-1584. Or go to Facebook, like our page On Target Radio, and ask a question or make a comment there.
Today's Rant of the Week and more of David's work can be found at bearingarms.com. And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's David's Rant of the Week.
President Ronald Reagan once said, "The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they are ignorant, but that they know so much that isn't so." Democratic political strategist James Carville was a bit more pragmatic about it. The Democratic constituency is just like a herd of cows. All you have to do is lay out enough silage and they come running. That's why I became an operative working with Democrats. With Democrats, all you have to do is make a lot of noise, lay out the hay, and be ready to use the old cattle prod in case a few want to bolt the herd. And lay out the silage they do, and nowhere more so than in the field of the Second Amendment. George Soros, Michael Bloomberg, and a regiment of like-minded New World propaganda hacks feed disinformation to their army of apparatchiks who, with no critical thinking skills at all, spread the word. Currently, the hot topic is concealed carry national reciprocity. Clearly, to a liberal, the concept of anyone being able to carry a gun anywhere is anathema to the very core theme of the progressive liberal. John Q. Public should not be allowed to own a gun until you reach the stature of Rosie O'Donnell, who somehow rules don't apply to her. What has torched me off most recently is a letter to the editor of Silicon Valley's Mercury News titled, "Just Wait Till Good Guy with a Gun Kills Innocent Bystander." This is typical liberalism. Spread the gospel regardless of the facts. In it, the writer expressed concern over what the author of a previous letter to the editor wrote, saying he is more concerned with bad guys packing heat than Joe Average with an out-of-state permit. He then suggests that it's going to take some wannabe cowboy trying to be a hero and hitting an innocent bystander to demonstrate just how bad that can be. How many people have to die to defend the Supreme Court's twisted version of our Second Amendment rights? This is so wrong on so many levels and underscores the fact that anti-gun liberals truly have no clue. I tried to find a case where a concealed carry holder's life was threatened, used his legally possessed firearm to defend himself or another, and shot an innocent bystander accidentally. I'm not suggesting it has never happened, but I sure couldn't find an example of it. Having said that, the far more important issue is the writer's position that it is better to have an active shooter shooting innocents all around him than for someone with a firearm to try and stop his murderous shooting spree because he might miss and hit someone else. So to liberals, it's better that potentially dozens of people die at the hands of some fanatic than allowing law-abiding citizens to carry a concealed firearm? Does that seem logical to anyone's point of view? I sure don't get it. If we fought wars with that attitude, we'd still have a British accent. This raises the question of how safe concealed carry holders are as they go about their business every day. When Illinois was the only state to not have concealed carry and the legislature was debating the issues of instituting it, a man told me that he was very uncomfortable with the idea that he could be in a room with people carrying hidden firearms. I asked him if he traveled out of state very often. He said he did, and I informed him that he has already been in rooms with people carrying hidden firearms. It never occurred to him. Mainstream media anti-gun reporting notwithstanding, here's what we know about concealed carry permit holders. A 2013 study looked into the effects of state-level concealed weapon laws on murder rates for the period 1980 to 2009. It found states with restrictions on the carrying of concealed weapons had higher gun-related murder rates than other states. These results suggest that restrictive concealed weapon laws may cause an increase in gun-related murders at the state level. The chilling effect concealed carry has on violent crime is one thing, but the question is how trustworthy are concealed carry permit holders? A study done by John Lott in 2016 found that it is very rare for permit holders to violate the law. There are about 12.8 million permit holders in the U.S., and Lott found concealed permit holders committed an average of 113 firearm violations per year during the period 2005 to 2007. That's 0.0009% of concealed carry holders commit a crime with a firearm, as versus law enforcement firearm-related crime statistics at 0.02%. Overall, concealed permit holders are remarkably safe and law-abiding. Finally, there is the myth perpetrated by the left that concealed carry permit holders are delusional if they think that they can intervene in an active shooter situation and stop the carnage. It took minimal effort to turn up ample situations where that exact scenario unfolded. A 2015 controversial Times article titled 12 Times Mass Shootings Were Stopped by Good Guys with Guns underscores there is a positive effect everywhere they go. Had Mississippi's Pearl High School allowed faculty to carry a concealed firearm, Assistant Principal Joe Myrick might have saved more lives. When Luke Woodham started shooting, Myrick ran to his car, retrieved his .45 caliber pistol, and headed back into the school. He was too late to save 2 students' lives and 7 others from gunshot wounds, but he did prevent Woodham from going across the street to the middle school as he had planned. The fact is, more mayhem is prevented by a good guy with a gun than is reported, simply because stopping it before someone gets killed is never going to make the news. That concealed permit holders are less likely to use a firearm in the commission of a crime than even, say, law enforcement is, that's never going to make the news. That concealed permit holders have stopped mass murders from racking up a higher body count is never going to make the news. That concealed permit holders are a positive influence on the overall crime rate is never going to make the news. The anti-gun progressive liberals never let the facts get in the way of their mission to disarm John Q. Public. You would do well to remember that in the next election. And that, Gretchen, is my squeaky, voicey, bad rant of the week.
Now we're just making up adjectives.
Well, we're winging it. Yeah, So the show is dedicated to people calling in with medical ways of my getting a voice back.
Yes, if you have any suggestions for David of how to fix his voice, the sooner the better. That would be great. So you can either call us at the phone number there or private message us on Facebook and I'll get it.
Let me tell you what I've already done so that you know not to bother. I've drank hot tea from China with honey. I drank I gargled cold stuff with salt. I used throat lozenges. I put it all in the blender, and I just mixed them.
I told you it's not supposed to be cold water with salt. It's supposed to be warm water with
Well,
salt.
it wasn't cold. It wasn't cold.
It's supposed to be warm.
When's the next break? Do we know?
It's coming right up, actually.
Yeah, that's what I got to do. I don't know. Give us a call, 815-205-1584, because half of the team isn't talking much tonight. The California, always the bellwether state in gun control. It's refreshing to know where to look. Just watch the sun set and crash into the Pacific. Did you read what they're? Of course you did. I gave you a script.
Yes.
It's already started. It was January 1st.
Yes.
Californians now can only buy ammunition from authorized dealers in the state of California. Period. If they want to take advantage of the deals online, it has to be shipped to a dealer in California, who will then, of course, mark it up, making it fiscally
they'll
not
add a
reasonable.
processing fee. Right. It's just sort of like buying a gun through an FFL type of thing.
Exactly. And people do. I got a good deal on whatever. And I go, really? How much did you pay the FFL? Well, that's
right.
Yeah.
I've never, any gun that I've ever looked at on like gunbroker.com. Once you pay the $25 shipping and the $25 FFL fee, you haven't saved any money.
So, yeah, it's true. But the point is, we have the option of doing it, even in the state of Illinois.
Yes.
Californians.
And now, as of January 1st, they have no option.
And then next year, 2019, they're taking it to the next step.
Right.
Next year, they're going to have to go in and buy a box of 22 ammo. They're going to have a background check.
Background check.
And you see how well that works. There's no crime in L.A. Yeah.
None at all. Larry says, take a tablespoon of honey and sprinkle cinnamon on top, but not cinnamon sugar, just straight cinnamon.
Isn't it when you take cinnamon in, you like choke to death?
Well,
is Larry trying to off me?
I think he is, actually.
Yeah.
I think he dreams of taking over On Target Radio.
Larry, it's available.
You can have it.
Everything is available for a price, except more time, which is probably a good thing. When we come back, we'll actually try and do something that was in the first segment that we didn't do, and we'll mosey into the second segment. We're going to just talk a little bit more about stuff that's going on in Pennsylvania. They're talking about confiscated guns. So all that more when we return with more on Target Radio.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. The On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsman's Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
Do you dread writing? Is it challenging to find just the right words to get your point across? Do you put off developing marketing materials because you just don't know where to start? You get one chance to make a first impression, and my editor, Creative Business Services, can help make it a strong, positive one. Hi, this is Gretchen Fritz, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to tell you about My Editor, a business I started to help you overcome those concerns. What you're experiencing is very common. My Editor has helped business owners, candidates for political office, and even authors and public speakers. At My Editor Creative Business Services, we can simply edit your existing work or help you develop an entire writing plan of action from initial project design through final copy. We are easy to work with and will help you get your point across in the most effective manner. If words escape you, send me an email at myeditor@mail.com. Use My Editor Creative Business Services and go to print with confidence. That's My Editor at mail.com or find us on Facebook.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
So we had somebody ask a question, which has absolutely nothing to do with the content of the show, but we've always been very loose with this show, haven't we?
Generally.
So
yeah.
the question was, how does a name like Lombardo get associated with Sicily, right?
Right.
Which is where my father was from, born and raised in Sicily. Sicily, it turns out, was a penal colony. It was the dumping ground for all of Europe. So we think that actually Lombardo is a contraction of Longobardo, long beard. It was the northern, what was they, the Germans, basically. They were Germans. Because that's where because there's an island. If they dumped you on it, you couldn't get off of it.
Sure.
So, yeah. So, who knows? When I was a kid, back in the 50s, people were still saying, what are you? Now it's not a real, you don't do that. But back then they did. They go, what are you? And I go, I'm Italian. And my father go, no, you're half Italian. Your mother, she was from near Florence. He goes, you're half Italian, you're half Sicilian. It's a different thing. I could be anything.
I would say German is a good theory. You act German.
I'm not at all like you. What are you talking about?
No, but you have your own German thing. Like, I was setting up Basic Pistol one time, and Eric can appreciate this. So I'm setting up Basic Pistol, and you set up a bench for each student, and I set everything up. Each cup has the same number of bullets in it, the same amount of ammunition. But he's got to go, and everything has to be in the exact same place on the bench.
Right.
It can't just be on the bench. It has to be exactly the same, square to, the surroundings. And
that's Army.
Well, that may be, but it comes off German.
And I wasn't in the German Army.
Are you sure?
I was in the American Army, yeah. What can I say? I don't know. I just talked to my CO today. Well, email, Facebook, back and forth. Doc, was my CO in Vietnam. And I'd found a picture of him and the other doctor doing something silly. And I found it in this slides that I had converted to digital. Ed Jankin did for me. And I sent him a copy of it, and he made his day. He was, his health isn't good. Agent Orange got him leukemia, and he's not doing. Yeah, so it made his day to see the two of them were doing kind of a monkey look sort of thing. He was a great commanding officer. Some people like these guys who are like Nazis,
Sure.
I was always in trouble, and he was always going, Lombardo, what do you do now? And, he'd make up these ridiculous punishments, like I was confined to company area, which in the middle of a combat zone.
He was constantly covering your ass.
Exactly.
Is the story I heard.
Yeah. And I still got promoted to E5 in 18 months or something. So, yeah, he was a great guy.
So we got a private message from Mike. He said, that's OCD.
And there's that. But the entire United States military is OCD. I mean, yeah. So, Pennsylvania, this is kind of an interesting, the whole medical marijuana thing is interesting because possession of marijuana is still against federal law.
Right. Still illegal federally.
And are you really getting into a states' rights thing here? Mm-hmm. Because certain states are saying, you know what?
We want to do it.
We're going to do it, right. And we were talking about doing doobies before the show. No, wait, let me rephrase it. Let me take that back.
Back up. Let's clarify for the audience.
Oh, this is
Before the show, we were having a discussion.
What are those flashing lights out in the front there? We were talking about marijuana before the show, and I had said at the table, 3 people, only one person ever tried it, and I just won't.
That would be him.
I won't point out who that was. I took 3 hits off of a joint in Vietnam. That was it. But
I think you already did a rant about that one time, so I think everybody already knew that.
I probably did, yeah. Yeah, I ran about it. Well, I have flashbacks,
Of
marijuana.
Taking 3 hits off a doobie.
Here's a marijuana. This is a marijuana flashback. But anyway.
I would think the flashback would be more like having those giant beetles in your boots.
Oh, God, don't even remember
that would be a flashback.
I want to think about that. But I have no idea where I was going with this. None.
Doobies.
Yeah.
Marijuana. Medical marijuana. Pennsylvania.
Medical marijuana, Pennsylvania, right. Good. It's good. It's good to have continuity in the show. Let's go back
I feel like the guy who's standing off stage, like, feeding the actor lines. Like, you know, the actor goes, and the script girl goes, Pennsylvania.
True. It's true.
Doobies.
But here's the thing. I've said this, but even when I was working as a deputy, to arrest somebody for possession of a little marijuana seems stupid to me. But so some states, and we know for a fact that some people have a lot of pain. Marijuana does help them. It makes it better. And who am I going to say you shouldn't do that?
Well, and I definitely think for cancer treatment patients, they often have no appetite, and it helps their appetite.
That's one thing marijuana does.
Yeah.
So some states have said that we're going to allow medical marijuana. Now, it's not like you're growing it in your basement. You have to get a prescription. It's controlled and taxed, I assume. I don't know, but I assume it is.
Yes, it is.
But now you get into an interesting situation. Because,
there are many interesting situations.
It's true. But the only
the one we're talking about tonight.
The only redeeming value here is if you're doing marijuana and they go, you can't have a gun. They're going, oh, bummer, dude. They're like, yeah.
Whoa. Whoa, man.
Yeah. But Pennsylvania, the state police, there's politics in this. There is an anti-gun bent, apparently. So they, who are not enforcing federal marijuana laws because their state allows medical marijuana, are going to enforce, if you have a gun, federal marijuana laws. Not the marijuana, the gun part.
Right.
You got marijuana, that's it, you're done.
Well, I have long said here in Illinois, we've had medical marijuana for some time, and I've been saying ever since I think we got concealed carry first, and then a short time later we got medical marijuana.
Yeah.
And I've been saying, more than likely, it's going to be one or the other. They're not going to let you have both.
Well, and the irony of this is, truly, having been around people that do dope because you arrest them for whatever, they're like zero threat to anybody. You go to arrest them, they go, oh, bummer, dude, and they put their hands behind their back. I mean, if they're
fairly compliant.
If there's a group that uses illegal drugs or any drugs who are not a problem, it's marijuana smokers because they're like, doobie. Could we stop at the Wendy's on the way to, I mean, you got to feed them because they're handcuffed. So anyway, something's going to happen with this. I mean, this is going to be challenged, and this is going to be a big deal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a huge mess. I mean, Hawaii did it. They legalized, it says medical marijuana, but then they said, they had to surrender. Anyone who had firearms had to surrender them. Now Pennsylvania's doing it. Illinois wouldn't surprise me in the least. I mean, Illinois government, General Assembly, they're trying to cook up any, especially, the farther north and east you go.
This has nothing to do with, you're not going to use the gun. You're going to use the gun illegally because you're on drugs. It has to do with an excuse to take the gun.
Exactly. Although I will say, what Illinois has done and why I've said it's going to be your medical marijuana card or your concealed carry card, but not both, is they have taken the DUI law, the Illinois DUI law, and they've applied it to carrying concealed.
Right.
So most people don't really know the DUI law that well, and so I always do talk about this in class, that the DUI law, actually, one of the 4 parts of the DUI law is that you can't drive under the influence of either illegal drugs or prescription drugs that say you're not supposed to drive when you take them.
If it affects you, you can't use it.
So they're taking all 4 parts of the DUI law and applying it to concealed carry. So that means you're not supposed to carry under the influence of marijuana. That is
sure.
That's what that means.
It doesn't mean you can't possess the gun. It can't be in your house.
No, I'm talking about concealed carry.
Yeah.
Specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least if we start hearing that.
Well, I think you're probably right.
But I mean, like you're saying, you know, the people who are smoking marijuana are no threat with firearms, and that may be, but Illinois has already said you can't carry a firearm if you're under the influence
I
of
wasn't
marijuana.
suggesting they can carry it under the.
No, but I'm saying, what's the difference if you're in your house and you need to use a firearm, or if you're out in public under the influence and you need to use a firearm?
Because you can't get a DUI in your house.
Well, okay, but I'm just saying, if they're saying you're not good to have that gun,
they ought to just give
out there
pass.
under marijuana, then
They ought to give them a pass. Besides, they got to protect their stash. They got all those plants in the basement.
That's right. Well, that's a little different situation.
This story is. I read this and I just laughed my keister off. Again, you know, a bunch of anti-gun people goaded the Government Accounting Office or Accountability Office, excuse me, now, they tried to sucker people in on the internet to sell them guns illegally, because Bloomberg said, you know, he came up with some number. Bloomberg says 62% of private sellers will sell illegally, basically. Mm-hmm. So they do this study 72 different times.
The ATF, over 2.5 years, they tried 72 times to buy guns over the internet and purposely, purposely put out red flags of, you know, that would make the seller question whether or not this person is legal to buy this gun, and they were able to complete those sales 0 times.
Nobody would sell them.
Nobody took the bait.
Another crushing defeat for the anti-gunners.
You know, it's another Fast and Furious, just amazing failure.
And these people just spout it. Jimmy Kimmel.
They try anything.
Jimmy Kimmel, after the Las Vegas thing, says, you know, right now there are loopholes in law that let you buy. You don't have to do background checks and stuff. I mean, these people, they just make this stuff up.
They do.
They just make it up. But I thought that was so funny that they tried for over 2 years, 72 times. They tried to get somebody online to sell them a gun illegally, and they're all going,
no.
Cram it, clown. We're not selling you a gun. I just think that's hysterical.
Yeah.
Well, let's just cut that one off the list of stuff to do and go to the next one. What's the next one? And then we've got the 4 biggest Second Amendment fights they're looking at for 2018. And we've talked about these, national reciprocity, you know, and we said last week, people have given way too much play to the fact that it passed the House. That was a foregone conclusion that it was going to pass the House.
Sure.
The question is the Senate, and we'll just see what happens with that. It's just been sitting there. Mm-hmm. McConnell hadn't done anything with it.
Well, we just had the holidays. They weren't there for a while. I'm actually, are they even back yet? I'm not even sure.
I think they went back didn't they go back this week?
I don't know.
Repeal the gun ban for military vets. This, you know, this really bothered me. And I don't have this problem. Well, I do because I can't balance a checkbook, but I don't ask anybody to do it for me.
The reason you can't balance a checkbook is because you don't have any money. It's not because you're incapable.
It's hard to balance negative numbers, you know.
It's not because you have any sort of mental deficiency.
I have a cash flow deficiency. You know, Trump just said, you know, that's going and gone. There's a bunch more, but we got to go take another break to
gargle with salt water.
Gargle salt water. But when we come back, we'll keep trudging forward with all this and more. When we return with more
on Target Radio.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to offer you a partnership opportunity. For over 4 years, On Target Radio covered the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech, on AM 560 The Answer. But a 1-minute commercial was $200, making it tough to find enough sponsors. So last November, we left AM 560 and began podcasting. There's a learning curve to podcasting, and we've worked through the kinks and would now like to make you an offer. You can have a 60-second audio or video commercial for as little as $25 a week. We can also offer fellow conservatives their own radio or video podcast for as little as $100 a week, with equipment and technical personnel included. You provide the content and host, plus get 6 free minutes of commercial time you can sell yourself. If you'd like to be an On Target Radio sponsor or explore the possibility of having your own show, call me at 815-741-3474, and let's explore the possibilities together.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
This segment is brought to you by the Will County Grassroots Division of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Join us at 7 p.m. Wednesday, January 17th at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois. Bill Potts will be the guest speaker for the January 17th meeting. Potts is organizing a statewide effort to identify and bring together small groups of pro-Second Amendment ISRA members to visit each of the state representatives and senators in their local offices. The objective is to have local constituents talk to their respective representatives in the Illinois legislature about pro-Second Amendment issues. Join us Wednesday, January 17th at 7 p.m. at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois.
So we got a bunch of stuff to go through because this is all pretty good stuff. The 4 biggest Second Amendment fights coming up for 2018, national reciprocity, and that's clearly not a given.
Yeah, doesn't look good.
It doesn't. They're also talking about repealing the ban on military vets. The deal with the ban was, it was like the Social Security thing. If a veteran, let's say in the example they use, got somebody to help him do a checkbook, then that made him impaired and he shouldn't own a gun. And they could literally call Nix and say, put his name on the list, and that's it. Well,
Sure.
that's bull.
That's crap.
That's crap. The Hearing Protection Act, this is near and dear to Todd. The irony in the Hearing Protection Act is, as anti-gun as this country tends to be politically, it's funny because in Europe, if you want to hunt, which they're virulently anti-gun, if you want to hunt in Europe, you are required to have a suppressor on the gun because of noise. So, we can't even get it wrong right.
Yeah. Well, and how many, there is a lot of states already that have suppressors are illegal.
They're trying to make it national, though.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Well, good.
I'm just saying it's not like it's not like this is a totally new concept.
No, it dates back really to the beer wars and stuff. This goes back to the early, it does. It goes back to Prohibition.
1920s.
Yeah, when they had, Tommy guns and all that kind of stuff. And as many people have pointed out, there is not a single known occasion of a suppressor being used in the commission of a crime. It's one of those laws that has no basis, in fact.
Right.
And then the bump stock ban. Now, personally, I don't have any real urge to have a bump stock. I don't own one. All the stuff I got, I don't have a bump stock. One guy uses it like a psychotic. Well, we got to ban it. It's got to go away. Well, what about vehicular homicides? How about we ban cars? One person, and that's it. We got to ban it. This is classic liberal nonsense. I don't know. We're pro-gun things, though. Our president, I find it interesting that, the liberal media will never talk about the fact that he does what he said he's going to do. And he does.
They, the fact of the matter is they don't want to have to admit it.
No.
The late night comedians and the morning show people, I faithfully watch the Today Show, but I will tell you, they do not want to have to admit that he actually, it's like he's going down a list, checking off boxes. And they don't want to have to admit that he's checked off a lot of boxes.
And now they're trying to get him for being insane.
And probably more, if you compare Trump to almost any other politician who's made campaign promises, he's checked off more boxes than anyone.
Yeah,
he's checked off more boxes than like 6 other politicians put together.
He really is. He's just, and it's interesting because God only knows what he says or thinks when he's at night when he's alone with his wife in the bedroom and he's thinking, oh God. But that he keeps a game face after a year of this, and just he's like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps on moving.
It's true, and occasionally I see a meme on Facebook, and every time I see it, I nod, and I know that it's true. Of it's a picture of him sitting in an airplane, and it's like after people are attacking me and making fun of me and doing all this stuff. Why do I do it? Oh yeah, it's because it's for America.
He believes
it's
it.
for the American people, and he's a patriot.
Yep, he is. He has a way that is not political, and it rubs some people the wrong way, and I get that. It doesn't bother me, but I get it. I do.
I have to say I'm pleasantly surprised.
Right.
I was not sure if he was how much of a patriot he really was, or if it was just his egocentric need for power and fame and certainly not money. I mean, he already had more money than any president ever, basically. But it just you never know. Like, is he doing it because he's a megalomaniac, or is it because he really wants what's best for us? And it turns out he really wants what's best for us.
That's interesting you say that. And I agree. He does want success. He wants the country to be what it was when it was great.
Right.
But it's interesting with the megalomaniac because realistically, if you think about it, could you be president of the United States and not be basically?
Oh no! I mean, I think you have to be an extraordinarily egocentric person.
Yeah, you have to be.
I don't think there's any other personality type that does that runs for president. I've said that before. I've said that many times. That. What kind of a person looks in the mirror and says, "Yeah, I should be president.
I'm going to be the most powerful guy on the planet."
You really have to be like completely non-introspective. And I mean, basically, I mean, you have to be egomaniacal in order to be able to do that, and as much as I love, the Ted Cruzes of the world and the George W's, as much as I love them, they have to have that personality. That's the only
survive.
Right. That's the only personality that can step forward and say, I should be the president of the United States.
I totally agree. It's like being a surgeon. Doctors are known. I mean, my father was that way.
Surgeons
They're known
especially.
for being,
Right.
When you hold somebody's brain in your hand or their heart, if you don't have a hell of a high level of self-confidence in yourself,
right, exactly.
It's not going to go well.
There are times when that personality is useful and or necessary. I'm certainly not saying that it isn't, but I think there are people who are, especially liberals, who are in denial.
Oh, yeah.
That you can get to those levels of government, and probably even senators, and there's probably a lot of those jobs, cabinet positions. There's probably a lot of those jobs where you pretty much have to have that personality to be able to do that. And so, I mean, like Secretary of State, come on, you have to have
you're looking,
brass balls to be able to do that job.
You're looking at a job where you've got a sea of people on the right who give you adulation constantly, a sea of people on the left who are tearing you down over the shoes your wife wears to go on an airplane. Yes. I mean, are you serious?
Yes.
This is news to these people.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's beyond.
And you're in the middle. Mm-hmm. Anything that goes wrong is your fault.
Right.
I mean, you just think about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, if you're going to be any good at it, the buck has to stop there. I mean.
Who was it that put that on their desk? Was it?
Eisenhower?
No, I think it was Truman, wasn't it? Buck stops here?
It was one of the military guys.
Anyway, it wasn't Truman then. Trump has done a lot. The top 6 pro-gun things that he did in 2017, we'll just tick them off because they're pretty well known.
Yeah.
One of the ones that's real, well, the first one, of course, was, the repeal of Social Security ban, which like they're doing with the military now.
We just talked about, yeah. That if you get help with your personal affairs.
Yeah, then you're insane.
They were putting you on next.
Ryan Zink, though, as Interior Secretary, was brilliant because they've been taking hunting away and in a way, the liberals have, and Zink just goes, it's out. You can come do it. And then, of course, Gorsuch. You don't even have to talk about that. That's obviously a big thing.
I fell in love with Ryan Zinke when the Illinois shooter put a picture of him, like his first day at work, basically, like out going into some national refuge or something on a horse. And I was like, that's the guy. That's what you want to see that guy do.
Was Putin with him? I don't know.
I think he was, on his way.
And then Trump, this just sent liberals screaming
Oh
into
my
the
gosh.
night. Trump
They were having aneurysms.
Is the main speaker at the NRA convention. That just, that was
They
like
lost their crap over
frosting
that.
on the cake. It really
They
was.
were losing their crap.
And then, all the, gun control calls, and he just goes, go, cram it, clown.
Yeah, he was just like, no.
And they opened up the pistols. By the way, the CMP pistols, if you want a slice of history, that's great. But if anybody thinks that they're going to be getting inexpensive guns, the prices I've seen that they're going to be charging, no, they're not at all inexpensive. But if you want a slice of history, I got an M1 Garand through that.
Mm-hmm.
Court-related stuff. What do we got? We got 2 minutes. The court-related stuff. I definitely want to, when we come back, I want to talk about those last two items because I find them very interesting. There's so much of this stuff in here; it's unbelievable. I pulled too much stuff.
These are really long articles.
We got the. I want to follow up on the couple and the gay wedding cake.
Yes.
I think that's a really important thing that's happened. It's not a good one either. And then the guy who was criticizing Muslims on Facebook. I really want to cover those two. But looking at court rulings, it has not been a particularly good year. Some have been okay. They turned down Peruta versus California. Peruta is the one about, may issue, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They wouldn't hear it. And they turned down the challenges, both Maryland and Florida gun control laws. They turned down the one on assault weapon ban. It does not bode well. What does bode well is he's just churning out candidates and putting them in judge jobs, which most of these people are fairly young. I mean, they'll be there 20, 30 years. That's a good thing.
It's interesting, though, because this guy, we had other articles like a couple of weeks ago saying that he was filling a lot of federal judge positions, but this says that the administration has been slow to submit nominees to fill 150 federal court vacancies. So I'm not sure which it is.
Well, there's a lot of vacancies.
I'm not sure if it's, a lot are getting filled or not many are getting filled.
There's a lot of vacancies.
Different,
but yeah, it's
different assessments of that.
There's all kinds of interesting stuff going on. It's just I always bite off more than we can chew.
Yes, you do.
I do. I just.
You do.
I always worry that we'll get up here and we'll talk about something and we'll look at this. Nothing else in the. What are we going to do? We'll talk to Eric.
Well, we could talk about your cleavage.
Okay, so when we come back, cleavage and all. How many people in here want to see my cleavage?
I'm looking at it right now. I don't want to see it.
How many people want to see Gretchen's cleavage? Okay, when we come back with Gretchen's cleavage, we'll be back with more on Target Radio.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsman's Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
In need of a ride to O'Hare or Midway Airport? Well, look no further. The Yellow Checker Cab Company is the cab company for you. With the Yellow Checker Cab Company, you will always be greeted by a friendly face and arrive safely and on time for your flight. Start your trip off right by taking advantage of one of their limos, shuttle vans, cabs, or courtesy cars. And airport trips are not all they specialize in. This 24-hour cab service will pick you up anytime, any day, for any occasion. From bachelorette parties to school dances to just just a night out with friends. Yellow Checker Cab Company has the best rates in town. So sit back, relax, and leave the driving to the professionals. Once you experience their fast and affordable cab service, you'll be a customer for life. When it comes to cab companies, be sure to choose Yellow Checker Cab because you have the right to expect certain things from your cab company. For further information or to book your trip today, call 815-744-2900. That's 815-744-2900.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life. Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
If you or your children like to shoot pistols and rifles and live in the Kankakee area, don't forget the ISRA range has an air pistol and air rifle league on Wednesday evenings from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. For further information, contact Mike James at mikej@isra.org. The following Safe for USA classes are at our facility in Waterman, Saturday and Sunday, February 3rd and 4th. Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and Gretchen and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry as well as Florida and Arizona. Sunday, February 11th, NRA Range Safety Officer, taught by David. Saturday and Sunday, February 17th and 18th, NRA Pistol Instructor, taught by David. To sign up for classes, go to SafeForUSA.com and click on Register.
Bill sent, Facebook?
YouTube.
YouTube, asking if he thought, if we thought the requirement for training, concealed carry training, would ever go up to what it is for law enforcement, which is 40 hours. Mm-hmm. Or armed security, same thing, 40 hours, get a TAN card. It's 20 hours of non-firearm and then 20 hours of firearm. And that's never going to happen. But to the best of my knowledge, we were talking about this on the break, to the best of my knowledge, Illinois has the longest training.
Yeah, I think we have the most.
I've not checked every single state, but I think it is.
I think so. And he also says he misses you and your tux like last week and TMI on the cleavage.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. I didn't come up with that, though. I just, one of us here sitting at the table, the potty mouth person. But anyway, I really wanted to cover this because we were talking about this back when we were on WIND, remember?
Cleavage?
About this couple.
Oh, the wedding cake.
I talk about this all the time.
Was that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that.
It's taken that long to wind down the road. They finally went to court, and believe it or not, they got fined $135,000 for not making a wedding cake for a gay couple.
That's not the guy in the Supreme Court.
No.
I was confusing. His name's like Jack Phillips or something. I was confusing it with.
This is the couple in Oregon, I think. I'm pretty sure it's Oregon. I'm positive it's Oregon, actually. And the deal was that they had served these people before. They had no problem selling stuff to them, mm-hmm. and they thought they had a good relationship with them. And then they wanted to make a wedding cake, and they said, we're very strong, devout Christians, and
we don't believe in that.
We don't believe in that. I mean, we'll help you any way we can, but we don't believe in that. And that's how good a friend they were. Of course, they turned around and sued him, mm-hmm. and made a formal complaint to the state, and it's dragged down all this time. They instituted, these good friends of theirs that they'd taken care of all those years, instituted a boycott, which put them out of business.
Sure.
And now, after being out of business, they get fined $135,000.
Yeah, I was going to say a $135,000 fine would put most any business out of business.
Well, they won't put them out of business because they already went out of business because of the gay boycott, not letting people, intimidating people. You can't go in there. So this just goes back to what I said, and a couple of years ago on AM 560, I got snookered on this wedding thing. I did. Because I said I don't have a problem with it. the guys that I knew, remember I told you, and they agreed. I said, you know, calling it marriage, if you call it a union, most people aren't going to give a damn one way or the other. And then in 10 years from now, no one will even discern the difference. But this in-your-face, you know, marriage thing, it pisses people off. But you were right. I mean, it was a camel getting his nose under the tent.
Yeah.
It really was. It wasn't, we're oppressed. It was.
And it wasn't the end game. It never.
Exactly.
It's never the end game with these people.
I got snookered on that one. I just, you know, the idea.
I'm telling you, Lombardo, you gotta give these people the side eye. Don't trust them.
I'm an Aquarian. I am. You know, I used to think,
you're too trusting.
I used to think that stuff is crap until I actually read it. I had somebody do not just my birth date, but the time to the minute, you know, of birth. There was stuff in this thing that they didn't know about me. I know they didn't, and yet it was true. And I'm like, holy cripes. But I'm an Aquarius. I prefer to see the good part of people, which really didn't go well when I was with the sheriff's department. But I do. I appreciate. You know, I'm just a romantic at heart, and I figure, you know, if two people care, what's business is it of mine?
Yeah, except they target, you know, devout Christians and Jews and
it was a screw job.
People like that.
Yeah, and I won't forget that. I won't forget that. But anyway, so these poor people, $135,000 fine, and they don't even have a business anymore. I don't know what's going to happen to them.
Well, what I'm wondering too is what will happen. What will happen with this if, because the Supreme Court took up the other case with the baker, the Christian baker, and they heard the case the other day, but you know, a couple of weeks ago.
Yet.
But yeah, it takes them several months to actually issue their decision. So what I'm wondering is, if they find for the baker, what happens with these guys?
Well,
they would have basis for an appeal, right?
I would think so.
I mean, it wouldn't be automatic, but they could appeal it.
I would think it would, because first of all, this isn't a crime. This is an administrative thing, right?
Yeah, it's some, like, you know, ethics commission or some crap.
So you can't say the Supreme Court has ceased to make it a crime per se. It's an administrative thing. I'm not exactly certain. Ronkowski doesn't listen to us anymore.
Court, oh, doesn't he?
Well, no, we never hear from him.
The Supreme Court only decides on constitutionality. Well, they're supposed to only decide on constitutionality of things. On the gay marriage thing, they definitely went, you know, off book on that. But so if they find for the Christian baker, then it would be you can refuse service based on religion.
Well, and that is constitutionality, if you think about it, because it's First Amendment.
Right. Which I don't even understand why it's even a question. And I've said that all along.
Well, the thing with this case, just to be the devil's advocate, the thing with this case, what they found was, presumably they looked at this, because their ruling was, we don't see that this prevents you from practicing your religion. Mm-hmm. In other words, there's a line there, okay? And where do you cross that line? Now, you and I think, well...
So in other words, the First Amendment doesn't provide conscience protection. It only allows you to...
You can practice your religion.
Free practice.
Making that cake doesn't stop you from going to church wherever you want or praying whenever you want. And I understand, I get that. I mean, I get that philosophy, but
to me, the free practice of religion includes not violating your religion.
It's their private business. It's their private business.
Now, see, and this is the point I've made all along. I don't understand why. My understanding, I mean, like, if you own a bar, for example, you can refuse to serve alcohol to anybody that you don't think should get alcohol.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter if they're over 21. You can say, no, I'm not going to serve you. I don't understand why a baker isn't given the same privilege. I thought any business owner, any private business, can choose to serve or not serve anyone that they want to. And if I were Jack Phillips or this couple in Oregon, I would just say, you know what, I'm too busy.
Well, I think they were being honest, which is always a mistake.
Which you should not do.
You should not do.
The Bible even says you should be as innocent as a dove, but as wise as a serpent. You know that you shouldn't let people walk on you.
Well, I wonder what would happen if somebody went into a Muslim bakery and said, "Make me
a Jewish cake.
Make me a Jewish cake. Yeah, make me a Happy Hanukkah cake."
Right.
Well, the shit will hit the fan.
Oh yeah. Well, or like you're saying, a gay wedding cake,
right,
would also be a violation for Muslims.
And the way things are going in this country, they'll take the side of the Muslim bakery.
Yeah, I don't know.
They always.
I mean, if it's between, and we've said this before, the Democrats, it doesn't make any sense.
Right here, this guy criticized Muslims. Did you read this?
No.
That's good. So
you're waving it at me. I'm like, you're moving it. I can't read it when you're moving it.
No, I don't mean that you're reading it now. But it just fits into what we're talking about.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So,
I sent you this one. Yeah.
So he writes stuff that is meant to annoy and harass people on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Is that not freedom of speech?
It is.
He's not threatening their life. He's saying the terror hike sounds like fun. The more Muslims we allow into America, the more terror we'll see. Practicing Islam can slowly reverse the process of human evolution. Okay, now.
It's funny.
Well, it is, actually. But the point is, he's not threatening their lives, which that is illegal to threaten people, threaten someone's life. Well, what do? They find this guy guilty.
Mm-hmm. He's being
now, what
prosecuted.
if a Muslim had done that and a Christian on Facebook? I bet they'd get on the pass.
Well, actually, it just says they're attempting to prosecute him.
Well, okay, so they're attempting to. The point is they're going after him. They're going to go after him.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I have. If you're going to have a law, then that law applies to everybody across the board. You don't get a pass.
Right.
Oh, I'm poor and impoverished. My great grandparents were slaves. You know what? This is 2017, 2018. Okay. Somebody wrote an editorial a month or two ago, and I think I mentioned it on the show. And what the guy said is, I've never owned slaves. My parents never owned slaves. Their parents never owned slaves. I've never known anyone that's owned slaves.
Right.
Could we get past this thing?
Yeah.
It's been 200 years since, or whatever, 150 years. This is liberalism. This is liberals dividing and conquering. Mm-hmm. And they're doing it very, very well.
Right.
To hang your hat on what happened in 1860s.
Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like what we were saying of, it's interesting how the Democrats want to favor Muslims and also favor homosexuals. And it's like, these two groups don't get along. It's like the Muslims want to kill the homosexuals. You do understand that, right? I mean,
I don't think they do.
I'm wondering how long it can last. I'm wondering how long.
Well, until the last, gay guy's dead.
How long they
can
him. Keep it together.
That's a really good question because they're still hewing to lines that brought them down in the last election, and they're proud of it.
Oh, yeah.
They're just proud of it.
Well, like Nancy Pelosi said, there's nothing wrong with our platform. We're just not communicating it effectively. Isn't that a good paraphrase of what she said?
Yeah, it is. It is.
She goes, no, there's nothing wrong with the platform. There's nothing wrong with the message. And
as I recollect, Trump said something about keep coming.
Yeah, he was like, okay.
I'll donate to it. Yeah.
Or like people were saying, should so and so run for president? Everybody's like, yeah, do it.
Run, Hillary. We want Hillary to run again.
Yeah, or Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, do it.
Oh yes, it was Pocahontas.
Yeah,
they just got on him about that too. One of the problems Trump has is he talks like he talks.
Right.
Like we talk one way, but then when you're in public, you kind of temper it a little.
Sure.
He doesn't do that. He calls Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, which I think is hysterical. Okay, but I don't know. It's you've seen that chart that they made up of all the different faces, and they go, Indian, environmentalist. You've seen that one? They got Al Gore. They got all the Democrats on there.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, and it says, what's wrong with this country? And it goes black person, and it's, what's her name? Rachel Dolezal. Indian, and it's,
yeah.
These people have no identity. They don't know who they are. I'm a Sicilian. I know who I am. It's real nice. You know
You're
what I'm
only
saying?
half Sicilian.
Yeah, the part that counts. Anyway, we'd like to thank you for listening to me croak. Let me croak it out to you tonight. And we'd appreciate that you tell your friends about On Target Radio and don't mention the part that I was croaking all night.
We'd also like to thank our engineer and announcer, Eric Allen, and our sponsors, the Will County chapter of the Illinois State Rifle Association, Yellow Checker of Joliet, My Editor Creative Business Services, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, and Safer USA.
And finally, we hope that you listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.
And covering more of David's skin.
Croakiness.